If you want cheap Microsoft points and game codes, check out g2a.com, link is in the description below.
Hey guys, it's Melvin7 here, and today I'm bringing you my BPL Matchday 20 predictions for New Year's Day. Now I've got a little disclaimer I suppose at the start of this video, a little tiny rant I suppose. So a lot of people skip to the end of this video just to see the comparison, which is perfectly fine. But if you're going to comment about my predictions, please watch the 10-minute vlog I do like at the start of it. I know only around 25% of people will actually watch that, which is fine. But if you're going to comment criticising my predictions, which of course people will disagree, I'm not bothered about that. But just listen to my justifications for the games, because I don't just blindly predict, I give reasons why. So if you are going to like comment about, oh, you're fucking retarded or whatever, then there's just no point for that really. Like, I try and justify my reasons. I'm not particularly bothered. It's just I know for a fact a lot of people will skip right to the end just to see what my predictions are, which is fine. But if you're going to comment, please watch my justifications for them. Anyway, we're now on match day 20. I think this is the 9th episode that me and the Mr. AC have done this, and last week was our worst week. We both picked up 1 point because there were so many surprise results. Man United drew, Chelsea drew, City dropped a 2-0 lead at Burnley to draw. A lot of results. Now the Chelsea one in particular I'm really frustrated with, because I said they would drop points against West Ham or Southampton, and I got it the wrong way around. Said West Ham would draw. If I'd have looked at the fixtures and saw that West Ham had Arsenal next, I probably would have said that they dropped points against Southampton, so I might have got more points. But anyway, it's 41 for me, 51 for the Mr. AC. Enough of that, let's get into the predictions. So, in the first game, we've got Stoke up against my team, Manchester United. Now, some positive news for Manchester United. I think Ander Herrera and Adnan Januzaj have returned to training. They're probably not going to be match fit, but of course, Luke Shaw, Raphael, they both played minutes and look match fit, I suppose, so possibility of them to start. So we've got a few injuries returning. Di Maria may be fit, but probably not. Bojan is also injured for Stoke. I looked on their official website. He's got a muscle problem, I think, so he can't play. Which is good news for me as a Manchester United fan. Now, obviously, in our last game, we drew 0-0 against Spurs. We should have won that in the first half. We should have had that dead and buried, but we just weren't clinical enough, which is just the complete opposite of how the seasons went. We've been very clinical up until then. Whereas Stoke, you know, they're very hard to play, especially at the Britannia, and they got a 2-0 win at the Britannia against West Brom. Very, very convincing result there. So they're not an easy team to beat, but without Bojan, they've lost a lot of their threat going forward. So for that reason, I'm going to say that we're going to win it 2-0. If we put in a performance like we did against Spurs, especially if we can keep it up, not just for 45 minutes, do the 90 minutes thing, I think we can finish our chances. That's all we needed to do. So yeah, I think we'll win this 2-0 is my prediction. The same as Chelsea got at Stoke, I believe. Anyway, the next game is Aston Villa against Crystal Palace. Now, Aston Villa got another boring 0-0 result against Sunderland. They also had Fabian Delph sent off, and that appeal has been overturned. They appealed his ban, but unfortunately for them, that's been upheld, so he can't play for 2 extra games, I believe. That's how it works. Crystal Palace also got a 0-0 draw away at QPR, and QPR weren't doing the best. Obviously, Palace are without a manager now, so that's going to be a big implication. It's at Villa Park, so for that reason, I'm going to say Villa, even though they've had a problem scoring, are going to win this 1-0. The next game is Hull versus Everton. Now, Everton lost again against Newcastle, but they've got so many injuries. But they're just playing far too attackive at the minute. Like against Newcastle, they could have been 4-1 down, but they did pull it back to 3-2 thanks to a lovely ball from Baines and a great finish from Morales. I think a couple of their players may be returning. Hull, on the other hand, lost against Leicester, who obviously bottom of the table, but they did play very, very well. They were at home as well. So if there's any team that Everton want to play to try and get back into it, I would say it's Hull City. So for that reason, I think Everton will bounce back and get a win, and they'll win 2-0. In the next game, we've got Liverpool up against Leicester. Both sides have had an upturn in form in recent weeks, especially Liverpool. That 4-1 demolition against Swansea was incredible to watch. I'm a United fan, I despise Liverpool, but they did dispatch Swansea with extreme ease, to be honest. There wasn't that much, like, Swansea had some chances, but it was never a doubt that Liverpool were going to win. I suppose when Swansea scored, it could have been because that was straight after that lucky goal that Lallana got to make it 2-0. But in the grand scheme of things, Liverpool walked over them, and Leicester obviously picked up a vital win away to Hull. Now, this is a very difficult one to predict for me because Leicester have been very, very good. They were unlucky against Spurs. They should have won that one recently. And now they've just had a win. Maybe that's the confidence they need because they're 3 points into the drop zone. So if they can manage to get something at Liverpool, it's going to be a big help for the rest of the season. Liverpool, though, are at home. Maybe they've turned a corner. So, you know what? I'm going to say a Liverpool 2-1 victory. But I wouldn't be surprised if this was a draw. But yeah, Liverpool 2-1 victory. I hope I'm wrong with that one. The next one is Man City up against Sunderland. Now, the last time these two teams met, I believe City won 4-1. Sunderland, their defence wasn't exactly great. But in the last game, City drew 2-2 to Burnley. They were 2-0 up and they threw that lead away. Like, I couldn't believe it. Sunderland drew 0-0 to Aston Villa. So both sides drew. Sunderland, if they can do what they did against Chelsea and just sit back and allow Man City to pile on the pressure and maybe hit them on the counter, then they're going to do well. I mean, City, I'm not sure if any of their strikers are returning or company. I haven't checked that. But they shouldn't have lost that lead to Burnley. That was just ridiculous. And they were very, very poor in the second half. So, for me, I think this is a potential drop points for City again. Even though they beat Sunderland 4-1 the last time these teams met, I think Gus Poyet will realise his mistakes and perhaps clinch a 1-1 draw. That is what I'm going to say. That's my surprise prediction for this episode. In the next game, we've got Newcastle, who will potentially be without a manager, against Burnley. Now, Newcastle obviously got a 3-2 win against Everton, but Pardew looks as though he's going to take the Palace job, so whether that's going to have any implications, we will see. Burnley drew 2-2 against City, so their confidence is high. So this one's a very difficult one to predict. Both sides probably... I don't know. Basically, I don't know which way this one's going to go. Both sides, it could go either way. It's at St James's Park, so maybe the atmosphere will pull Newcastle through. And the fans have wanted Pardew out. Well, a lot of them have wanted Pardew out for a long time. So we'll see how that affects. I don't think it's going to go well. So for me, I think Burnley will... I'm going to say a draw with this one. I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-2 draw, same as what it was against City for Burnley. This one's going to be a very interesting one though, especially if Pardew isn't there as the manager. Next game we got QPR up against Swansea. QPR a 0-0 draw against Palace, whereas Swansea were battered 4-1 against Liverpool. Now, Swansea, Boney seems to have like flickers during a game, but he's not 100% fit. Like, he got brought off for Gomis again on the 60th minute. And obviously he's going to the African Cup of Nations next month. By the time this is out, it might be in that month because I think it's January. I could be wrong there. But yeah, so Gomis is obviously going to have to step up. QPR, on the other hand, at home, they've been really good. I mean, against Palace, it was a pretty boring draw. It looks as though they've got Zarate on loan. He probably won't be eligible for this game. He may be, so that might help take the load off Charlie Austin. So for me, very interesting game, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 Swansea win. In the next game, we've got an informed Southampton again against an iffy Arsenal. Like, they did well against West Ham. They won 2-1, but West Ham had a fair amount of chances and could have got back in that. Whereas Southampton are on an up run of form. They won 2 before this, including Everton, and then they drew against Chelsea. A well-earned draw there. So, for me, since it's at St Mary's, Southampton have been very, very good there. They are going to win this one. I know a lot of the time I just can't get Arsenal right. Literally, if I predict them to win, they usually lose, and vice versa. And a draw, I just can't get Arsenal right. I honestly can't, and I'm sure a lot of pundits can't in real life because they are unpredictable. So I'm going to say it's Southampton 2-1 win, but any result in this game, I can't predict Arsenal. I just literally can't. 2-1 Southampton though. In the next game we got West Ham against West Brom. West Brom lost 2-0 obviously, whereas West Ham were beaten 2-1 by Arsenal. West Ham though, they do look incredible to be honest. They're at home this time, so I think because West Brom have sacked their manager, is it Irvine? He's gone now, so they're going to be without a manager, so that's not going to help. So I'm going to say 2-0 West Ham. I'm just going to get that one out the way as soon as possible. So in the last game, we've got Spurs up against Chelsea. Now, this one is going to be very, very interesting. Spurs 0-0 against us. Perhaps we should have won that, but Spurs were certainly better in the last 20 minutes. They piled on the pressure and looked the more likely to score. But in the first half, it was all us. Spurs had a couple of chances, etc. Chelsea were held 1-1 to Southampton by a team who sat back again. So Spurs aren't like Pochettino never sits back though, so that is probably why. Like even Andres Villas-Boas and Tim Sherwood didn't when they were at Spurs, so perhaps that's a reason why they lose quite heavily to some big teams. It's a really dangerous tactic, but if Spurs get the first goal, then you know they can sit back, and that is what Chelsea don't like. Like they don't like having to play up against 10 at the back, if you make sense, because Sunderland, Newcastle got a win, Sunderland got a draw, so that's the way to play Chelsea, especially if you're not as good as them, and no one in the BPL really has as full a team as Chelsea do. It's just brilliant in all areas of the park, so it's difficult to beat, and Spurs are going to go for this, so it's going to be a head-to-head, and on head-to-head, Chelsea have to be the victors, even if it is at White Hart Lane, which to be honest is probably bad for Spurs, because at White Hart Lane, they haven't been the greatest this season. I know this has went on for ages. I'm just going to give you my prediction. I'm going to say 3-1 to Chelsea. I think Harry Kane will get on the score sheet, or Eriksen. Those two are heads and shoulders, and Lloris are heads and shoulders above anyone else at Spurs at the minute. But Chelsea, I think, you know, Mourinho's going to be fucking livid with a 1-1 draw against Southampton, giving City an opportunity to close the gap, but of course City drew themselves, so he's really not going to want any more slip-ups, so I'm going to say 3-1 Chelsea. I'll be back with the side-by-side comparisons against the Mr. AC. Right, so the side-by-side comparisons, they're very, very similar results. I think the only one looking at this, well, the only two that are different, that we've predicted different results altogether, are City, he believes will win, whereas I think they'll draw because Sunderland are usually their bogey team. And then he also thinks that QPR and Swansea will draw, whereas I think for only the second time I've said that QPR will lose and Swansea will win. So yeah, the rest of them are just different scores, but mainly the same result. So yeah, pretty interesting. Hopefully I can gain some more points. And yeah, if you have enjoyed, please hit that like button and subscribe for daily FIFA 15 content.